following takes place between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m.
Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday. Another week is almost in the books, and this is FPC Radio Live. I am your host, Ian Glendon, and I am joined, as always, by my man, Mr. Mike Debate, Mr. Rhode Island himself. Mike, how are we doing today?
La la la. Doing well, my friend. Doing well. Thursday morning. Can't help but love these short weeks. But you know what? It's 2 less days that we didn't get a chance to grace the airwaves together. So you know what?
Fewer.
It's all good. It's 2 fewer. Yeah, that's right. See, yeah.
And my inner editor just doesn't go to sleep, Mike. So
you see, that's it. That's it. Always editing me and always making me look better. That's what this man does, folks. But no, all kidding aside. Always great, and we're looking forward to it. Again, another action-packed day. A lot of news in the world of football, some news in the world of baseball. Hot stove starting to heat up a little bit as well,
right,
my friend. So
I see. It's hot.
Yeah, absolutely, very, very hot. Yeah, it'll well, whatever. We won't get into that right now, but in any case, really good stuff. So looking forward to the show today.
Yeah, I was going to say that kind of sounds like a medical issue if I'm going to say so, but we'll leave it at that. Yeah, look, it's Thursday. I love Thursday. Thursday's fun because we got Thursday Night Football and we have something easy to focus on, which is tonight is Cowboys and Bears. So it's gonna be good. And yeah, you mentioned it. The baseball off season is really starting to pick up. There's a couple deals that we're going to talk about real briefly. You know, obviously we're going to dominate the show with NFL headlines, but look, it's going to be a good one tonight. Like I said, the Cowboys are once again on the ropes, and the Bears are, well, they're the Bears. The Bears. That's right.
Top Bears.
Yes. No, it's going to be a good one. Like I said, there's a lot of stakes on the line. Obviously, the Cowboys at 6-6 still lead the NFC East, but the Eagles are, I don't want to say breathing down their neck, but they happen to be in second place and kind of close to them. So so the Cowboys got to win. They got to kind of make the fans feel good, and they got to get some confidence back in this team because clearly this is a team that, despite even if they do win the division, I can't imagine they're too confident heading into the playoffs. Even though Jerry Jones has said that Jason Garrett is safe for the rest of the year, I still don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I mean, he's almost a dead man walking here. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they can turn it around, surprise a bunch of people, but it certainly would have to start tonight. And once again, they're on national TV, so everyone's going to be able to see. But before we jump into that, well, you know, we're going to focus quite a bit on that. I do, like I said, want to bring up some of the news and headlines of the day. First and foremost, the biggest news, I don't care, any sport, across any sport, any topic, whatever, Eli Manning. That's right. Eli Manning may finally be getting his chance to play once again. Daniel Jones apparently popped up on the injury report with a high ankle sprain. He was in a walking boot and missed practice this week, and all signs point to the better of the two Manning, the better Manning. No, just joking. I mean, Peyton Manning was better. Let's be real here. But Eli Manning will get a start, presumably again on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. So, last year, I thought they did him really wrong, Ben McAdoo, and benching him. Say what you will about Eli Manning. The guy was out there every week for his team. He had his flaws, certainly, but he was also a huge factor in them winning 2 Super Bowls. So, to me, I thought the previous coaching staff really hurt, his I don't want to say it hurt his legacy, but they shouldn't have treated him like that, especially a franchise player like him. So I think it's great that he's going to get another opportunity to start. This team obviously is not good. I saw a stat, and I don't have it right in front of me, which seems to be a common theme sometimes, some days. But I did see something where Pat Shermer just crossed the 30 game mark or 33 game mark with the Giants, and that is the same amount of time. Ben McAdoo has been was the coach of the Giants, and Pat Shermer had a far worse record. I think half the amount of wins. I think McAdoo is something like 13-15 or 15-16, something like that, and Pat Shermer is 7-23. So. Yeah, so to me, I mean, Eli, yeah, he was part of the problem, but the team construction of the Giants was just poor. I mean, you threw a lot of money at Nate Solder, who was clearly past his expiration date in terms of getting that type of money. He deserved it, but the Giants were just the team that got the worst part of Nate Solder, and you go up and down the line, the Eric Flowers era and all that stuff. This team just hasn't been good over the last few years, but it's going to be good for them to be able to get their franchise quarterback in perhaps his last little hurrah here. And what a way for him to come back than to face the Eagles, who his record's not great, 10-20, but 60% completion, 7,791 yards, 52 touchdowns, 34 interceptions, and a 84.2 quarterback rating for Eli Manning against the Eagles in his career. So, what a way for a comeback if he can come in and really just knock the Eagles out of the playoffs.
Well, it would be the ultimate win-win for the New York Giants and for Eli Manning. Let's not forget he's 116-116 in his career, folks. This is a make or break. Is he a winning quarterback? Is he a losing quarterback? All right, I'm probably being melodramatic when I'm saying this. One win, one here and there is not really going to affect his
Hall of
legacy
Fame or no Hall of Fame?
It could be right on the cusp, right? That this is for all the marbles. But no, and all kidding aside, it's good to see him be able to get at least one last shot with the Giants. I don't know if it's going to be the last shot in the NFL. We don't know that just yet. I still think Eli Manning has something left in the tank, and I think you may see him pop up next year somewhere with a team that might be quarterback needy. I don't think
like the Patriots, right?
Be a backup. Oh yeah, possibly, because we all know he's out the door. No, I'm not going to touch that. We can fill a whole hour, and we got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly.
About one Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. But in any case, when it comes to Manning and the Giants, yeah, this is a big game for the Eagles. Let's not forget they need to win this to save their season. There's talent on both sides of the ball in Philadelphia for some reason or whatever that has not been able to bring it all close together. And I know a lot of people are going to start pointing the finger at Carson Wentz. I don't necessarily know if Wentz was the entire problem last week in the loss to the Dolphins, but they have a lot to prove. If they want to keep any pressure on Dallas whatsoever and try to keep a very dismal playoff hope alive right now, they need this game big time. Eli Manning is going to be very motivated to play a good game. If he's showcasing his talent for another team and wants to prove that he still has stuff left in the tank, this is a big game for him. So all of a sudden, this Giants-Eagles game got a lot more interesting than even it already was. I'm going to have a sharp eye on this one this weekend. And I can't say that maybe 3 or 4 days ago that I would have. I would have given it its attention. It's just naturally because of the Eagles and their playoff situation. But now I'm going to have an eye on the Giants as well on this one. So this should be a good game.
Yeah, and look, I'm not sitting here trying to prop up Eli Manning. No, absolutely not. Trust me, I have not forgot 2007, 2011. I don't have great feelings for Eli Manning.
I despise him.
Yes, I despise him actually. So I'm thinking outweighing the positives and the negatives. I think the biggest positive out of this, and for me personally, would be to watch Eli Manning come in, have a very Eli Manning-like game, meaning mediocre to good, and eliminate the Philadelphia Eagles once and for all from the playoffs. So that's what's motivating me. But at the end of the day, I don't want to root too much for Eli Manning, because again, he is the source of the reason why I wake up in the middle of the night in hot sweats most weeks.
Well, I can understand that, but it's the holidays. You got to embrace, the love and the feeling that everybody has nowadays. Everybody's feeling good and all that. And just remember, it really wasn't Eli Manning's fault. It was Roger McDowell's fault. He was the one that spit on Newman
That's
from
right.
the hill up on the gravelly
Back
road. So
into the left.
back and to the left, back and to the left. So yeah, in any case, yeah, just blame the whole thing on McDowell. That's what they did. That's what Keith Hernandez did. He went on to pretty good things since. So.
Yeah, I would say so. He had a pretty decent career.
Right.
But no, like it'll be fun. It'll be a great storyline to follow, and for Giants fans, and I do know a few, and I certainly appreciate them, and they're friendly and all that. Give you a chance to root for Eli, because I know there are Giants fans out there that agree that I think he should have had a better shot. You know what I mean? A better chance or more of an opportunity, especially last year. I think if they didn't bench him last season unexpectedly and ruin his consecutive start streak, which again that's kind of a kick to your franchise quarterback, then maybe he wouldn't have gotten so much sympathy this year. But I do think he deserves another chance, and good for him. Give him a chance to go out with a over 500 record. So because that would be very Eli Manning to finish his career at exactly 500. So in other news, the 49ers suspended broadcaster Tim Ryan for some very, let's say, stupid comments. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, when you sit here and it's like that Dave Chappelle skit, stand up, 2003, 2004, so not the more recent ones, but when he's talking about going out and sometimes things happen that are just so racist that you don't know, like you just don't know how to react, and you're just well that's racist. Well, this is kind of what that is. It's like so in a very casual manner. The broadcaster suggested that Lamar Jackson's skin color, or the tone of his skin color, was an advantage because of the ball, and it's just like when you're sitting there listening to that, and the thoughts going through your mind are just like, first of all, you have to catch up to the actual thoughts because you're just almost just in shock that someone would even think that that's appropriate to say. So I don't know. I mean, it's such a I just don't understand why something like that comes into your mind and you think it's a good idea. And trust me, like doing stuff like this, doing live shows and whatnot. I mean, a lot of stupid things come into my mind, but it's generally like stupid sports things, like not like borderline racial thoughts. This is we're talking like just, hey, I'm gonna say one stat and be completely wrong, as opposed to or I'm gonna say the day wrong or something stupid like that. Not like, again, borderline racism. So obviously the 49ers suspended him, and they released the statement. We hold Tim to a high standard as a representative of our organization, and he must be more thoughtful with his words. Tim has expressed remorse in a public statement and has done so with us privately, the 49ers said in a statement to San Francisco Chronicle. We know Tim as a man of high integrity and are confident he will grow and learn from this experience. I mean, look, honestly, sometimes I see these stories and I think they're coming from The Onion. And then I realized, oh no, this is actually real. So, like I don't know. I mean, I'm shocked. Honestly, just someone would say something so foolish.
No, it's true. I mean, and especially in today's day and age. I mean, you look at comments like this and you see things that happen that still happen to this day, even with all the awareness that is out there. And it's an unfortunate situation all around. It's unfortunate that the comment was made. It's unfortunate that, people have to, read this, be offended by it, and even that it trickles into our society. So I think the 49ers made the right move. I don't necessarily look at Tim as being someone that's, the devil incarnate. I really do believe it was probably a comment that wasn't made maliciously, that was made I would probably say haphazardly and very stupidly, if you want to, if that's a word, but irresponsibly. I think that's a better word to use. Absolutely. But at the same time, is it a fireable offense? I would probably say no. Is it a suspendable offense? Yes. And I think that's where they walk the fine line.
Mhm.
So they've made their move. They've suspended him. It sounds like from their statement that he will be back, that they still hold him in pretty high regard and just need to to put him in his place when it comes to stuff like this. But you just hope that someday soon, and someday very soon, that comments like this are not needed to be explained. They're not needed to be, that they'll just disappear from the American lexicon, because it's something that I think is, it's one thing to say, oh, well, that's offensive, that's not offensive. I mean, it's hard to say that, because if you're offended by something and you tell me not to be, that negates my feelings on the situation. And I'm using me as an example here, folks. I'm not saying that I was offended by the comment or whatever, but what I'm trying to say is that if we try to eliminate this type of rhetoric from, especially from professional dialogue, like the one that a play-by-play announcer or anyone like you and I that have a radio show every morning, or anybody like that, you have to choose your words carefully. And you really, I think the day is coming where we don't necessarily have to choose our words carefully anymore. It's just not going to be even a thought in our head to utter comments like that. So hopefully we can get to that level, and we can do that to become a better society. But all in all, I mean, it's just one of those things that's unfortunate. So he was given his punishment, and hopefully the story can move on from there and it doesn't have to linger.
Yeah, and I think you said the key word, malicious, and I don't think anyone. I mean, malicious in intent. Obviously, the comments in itself are you can consider malicious or obviously inappropriate and disrespectful, all those things.
Absolutely.
But the intent, I don't think he was. I mean, trust me, we've seen videos on social media with far more intent and hatred behind it. So again, he said something stupid, stupid, very racist, very whether he intended it or not. It's there's no
one.
So I mean,
no one's questioning that.
Exactly.
It was a terrible comment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. If you were offended by that comment, you have every right to be.
Exactly. I mean, I was, and I'm not. I'm just like thinking like that's just you just there's other ways. There's other things you can talk about. There's other it's just, to me, I didn't hear it until it was brought up, because I don't listen to the San Francisco radio broadcast, but obviously it picked up steam because other people heard it. So, but moving on, because that was obviously in the news, and we do want to talk about it. Adam Thielen, Minnesota Vikings, looks like he had a setback. He was potentially supposed to play on Monday night. He looks like he is not going to go once again, so that's going to hurt the Vikings. Obviously, coming off a pretty tough loss. So. He obviously, when he originally injured himself, he tried to come back just a couple weeks later with the hamstring, and he was out almost instantly. And that's never a good sign, and those hamstring injuries can really linger. Another player, and I was like, I mean, I don't know the extent of what, how this injury affects you or whatever, but Josh Jacobs, the Raiders rookie running back, has been playing with a fractured shoulder since week 2. I'm sorry, it was week 7 against Green Bay, and he's only 4th in the league in rushing with 1,061 yards. So that's I always laugh, because again, sometimes I wake up in the morning and like my back hurts for no other reason than I sit at a chair, or I sit behind a wheel of a car for the majority of the day, and I get older, and I just hurt. And these guys are going out there getting hit by 250-pound linebackers with fractured shoulders and gaining a lot of yards after the fact. And to me, it never ceases to amaze me what these guys put themselves through.
No, it really is. I mean, it's one thing to play through injuries. It's one thing to have injuries, and we all have our opinions on players that maybe should be playing through some difficulty. And then there are players out there that we look at, that you look at them and you say, how are they out there? I mean, really, the pain that they're in must be excruciating, and yet they're out there week after week. It's a testament to the type of athlete that you are. And look, for some players, taking care of their bodies and being, a part of that culture that's now, I guess, work management or load management or whatever you want to say, it's a part of our sports culture now. But ultimately, I really think that it really lies within the player and within the team. If the team is willing to put up with it, then fine. But it really is amazing especially with Jacobs. I mean, it's amazing what these players do put their bodies through on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis just to get through the grind of a football season. I could never do it. I think I speak for you when I say you could probably never do it. I think it takes a special type of player to be able to suit up and do stuff like that each and every day.
The football team at my high school, they were tough. After they sacked the quarterback, they went after his family.
Oh, the war's over. Get new parts for your head.
No respect.
Oh man, no! As soon as you started talking about Tal, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta go to that one. No, like I mean, I played football 1 year just because I always wanted to play, but obviously I grew up playing hockey and up in the Northeast, Massachusetts, all that stuff. If you're really into it, it's a 365-day-a-year sport, so there's really no other time for a sport like football where you're so involved. But I did play, and I enjoyed getting hit. I kind of liked it because I was a goalie, so I didn't get hit a lot playing hockey, but I always wanted, you know what I mean? I always wanted to kind of mix it up a little bit. But I can't imagine being as injured as some of these guys are playing the sport. So, good for Josh Jacobs. He's having a great year, and he's been kind of the centerpiece around part of this Raiders resurgence of sorts. And he kind of represents that really strong rookie class on offense with guys like Max Crosby on defense, kind of really stepping it up. Who, if you guys listened over the summer, appeared on over in the spring, appeared on the Black Tuesday podcast hosted by Terrence Biggs. So that was before the Raiders drafted him. So you can kind of tell how on point that they are with that. But if you want, go back and check it out. Listen to the interview; it's really really good stuff. But yeah, Josh Jacobs, we'll see. Looks like he's gonna keep going. I mean, he's been going since week 7 with it, so it doesn't seem to be affecting him too much. So. We mentioned, and we don't do this often, and mostly because the NFL dominates headlines and all that stuff. But baseball's starting to pick up, and the rumors are swirling. The moves are starting to be made. First off, a couple pitchers. Actually, you know what? Before I get to the signings, I do want to say the Angels. Two important things. First. The Angels are in the process, or I believe have already purchased the parking lot, stadium, and the surrounding areas around the ballpark in Anaheim, and have signed a lease keeping them in Anaheim for through 2050. So unlike the Rays in St. Pete, there is some certainty as to where the Angels are going to be for the very foreseeable future, so the next 30 years or so. That's pretty big news. Another bit of big news, and I think Mets fans across the nation are rejoicing at this news, is that the Wilpons are expected to sell up to 80% of their controlling interest in the Mets organization to a guy who's just worth a mere $9.3 billion. Yeah, that's billion with a B. Actually, you know what? I wish I would have got that soundbite from Breaking Bad when Walt's describing magical or whatever gray matter, how he's like, no, that's billions. But this guy's worth $9.3 billion. Steve Cohen. So over the next 5 years or so, they're going to transition into him being the controlling partner and the guy who basically runs baseball operations. So for Mets fans who have been yearning for a change, I think this is a good step in the right direction for them, because I know they certainly have not enjoyed a lot of success as of late. Aside from a brief run to the World Series several years back, it's been pretty much down in the dumps for the Mets, and ownership is certainly part of the problem. So I'd say that's pretty big news for Mets fans, and I'm thinking about Terrence, who I just mentioned about the Raiders podcast, because he is a big Mets fan. So.
Yeah, no, it's true. It really is, and definitely a very good thing for the Mets organization. The Wilpons have been the punching bags for a lot of Mets fans lately. And look, I have no argument with that at all. It will be good to see new ownership come in, and I think maybe invest a little bit more into the team, into putting the right people in the right places to make the right decisions for that franchise, because there is, there always is talent that seems to matriculate to Shea Stadium, or the old Shea Stadium
Yeah.
now, obviously Citi Field. But at this point, that's definitely a good thing for them. Great thing for the Angels organization as well, for them to remain where they are. They made a trade yesterday, picking up Bundy and shoring up that bullpen a little bit. You heard the brass of the Angels say, we're not done yet. So maybe this is the year they finally surround Mike Trout with some good talent, some great talent on the pitching staff, bullpen, and try to make a run in the West, because it's a great market. It's an area where they've had some success before. You'd like to see them try to build back up a little bit on that end. And Trout is still, in my opinion, hands down the best player in baseball. So to surround him with some great talent and see him play a lot more is definitely something I'll be looking forward to. But there's a lot going on, a lot swirling around in the world of baseball right now, with the hot stove heating up, especially with Zach Wheeler. We saw that yesterday. Philly's going in big time with him.
Yeah. $118 million, man. Honestly, I could have just been a subpar, mediocre middle relief pitcher. Like honestly, I would accept being the guy who goes in when you're just down 9-1. You need someone to eat innings. I don't care if I get shellacked, but I can make a pretty penny doing that, and I'm okay with that. So, actually, no, I think the best career choice I could have made if I was a kid was to just punt footballs. I mean, come on, you can make 6-7 figures by punting a football. I mean, hell, if you're a punter for the Patriots or the punter for a team that scores a lot and doesn't turn the ball over or doesn't stall in drives, you don't got to do much. So I certainly missed the boat on that one. So in the next life, I will try to be better and try to just be a punter and make a good living that way. So, but yeah, Zach Wheeler, obviously, the word is that he turned down a bigger offer from the Chicago White Sox, and that's unfortunate because that's another team that's suffered quite a bit, especially since when they won the World Series in 2005. It's really been that long. I mean, we're talking almost 15 years now, but. That's a team that clearly is having trouble attracting talent, and that has obviously hindered them in becoming a more successful franchise. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, once we get Cole Hamels too, forgot to mention that 1 year, $18 million with the Braves. So. Yeah, so I mean, we know how it goes in baseball. Things start to pick up in December. You start hearing moves. I mean, remember the Thanksgiving Day trade for Kurt Schilling and all these moves that start happening around the winter meetings, and you start gearing up once the calendar turns. You're like, okay, well, spring training's just several weeks away, so it'll be interesting to see. And to the Angels' point, with Joe Madden now, kind of being the bench boss, it'll be interesting to see how he kind of gets everything going and see if they can actually get the Angels into the playoffs, because it seems a shame that what a lot of people consider the best player in baseball is consistently on the sidelines when the postseason comes. So that's not a good thing for the baseball or Mike Trout. I mean, you want your best player in the playoffs. That's just kind of how it happens. So,
all right.
But
Absolutely.
I was going to say, I'm sure we will be spending quite a bit of time on that. So before we get into Thursday Night Football, I do want to, we generally do our power rankings on Wednesday, but given the whole schedule just being kind of out of whack this last week, we've pushed it back to today. So before we start talking about kickoff, Thursday Night Football between the Bears, that's right, Bears. That's right.
Bears.
Audio troubles. Not quite reacting when I press the button, so a little bit of a delay. Before we start talking about that, I do want to give our power rankings because I'm assuming there might be a little bit of a jumble. So we'll each start. I'll go 5, you go 5, I'll go 4, you go 4, so on and so forth. So my 5th team, okay, is the New Orleans Saints. I think they've obviously, they got the quarterback, they got a defense, they got a lot of offensive weapons, and they play really well for the most part, most every game. So New Orleans Saints at 10-2, actually currently the number 1 seed in the NFC, sitting at number 5 in my power rankings.
We are once again like-minded, and everybody's rolling their eyes going, why do I bother? Because these guys are going to say the same thing. And we may not. We may. There's a possibility, folks. But the New Orleans Saints are my number 5 team as well. Look, they didn't play their cleanest football in November, but they have played well as of late. They've rebounded a little bit and are starting to show that flash of the team that I picked to go to the Super Bowl early on in this season. I think they're playing well on both sides of the football. I still think there are a couple of teams in the NFC that might have a little something to say about them making the claim for the top spot. So right now, because of a stacked NFC and a stacked AFC, I have New Orleans as my number 5 club.
Yep. And, my reasoning is very similar to yours. I mean, it's just you got to take into account the context. I mean, it's not too long ago that the Saints lost a pretty bad game, but they rebounded well. And there are teams in the NFC that are better. And one of those teams, in my opinion, is my number 4 team. And that's the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are an interesting team because at times they look like just world beaters. And then at other times, I mean, their defense gives up a lot of points. And I'm not sure whether or not that should be concerning, or at least, I mean, of course it's concerning. You don't want your defense to give up a lot of points, but concerning to the point where it's going to hurt them in the long run. Obviously, their offense is good enough to overcome it, and generally they play with a lead at times. So sometimes it's a lot of garbage points, but still, you don't want to see your team giving up those type of points. So. I'll be curious to see how that tightens up here in the last 4 weeks. To see if the Seahawks can kind of ramp it up a little bit and get ready for the playoffs.
Very, very interesting. And my number 4 team, and this is tough. This is really tough for me. This is really, really tough for me. My number 4 team is yours and our New England Patriots, folks.
No,
and I say that the number 4 team, and I really, really debated putting them up there at number 3. I think to rank them any higher would just be me being a homer. But when you what this team has done offensively. And look, I'm not going to start getting into pointing the finger on the blame game, who's to blame, whether it's Brady, it's receivers or whatever. The lack of productivity has been there. Yeah. Now, is that to say that this is going to be that way going forward? I don't believe so. I think they're going to snap out of their funk, and I think they're going to do it this weekend. But if you're asking me right now who the power rankings and who the teams are, it pained me to put them here solely on the strength or the lack of strength of the offensive output the last couple of games. Of course, coming off of a loss to Houston, which is not an embarrassment. Houston's a good team, folks. I've seen a lot of Twitter chatter back and forth that how could they? They should be embarrassed to lose to Houston. It's not an embarrassment to lose to the Houston Texans. It's a solid football team. So, it's tough for me to rank them this low at this point. I don't anticipate this is. I hope this is the lowest I have to rank them all year. But when it came to that, and I looked at some of the offensive output, that's what I saw. Not indicative of their roster. Not indicative of anybody falling off a cliff or rookies running wrong routes or anything like that. I went purely on statistics on this one, so they're my number 4 team, but hopefully climbing.
That's right, trending upwards. No,
yes, trending upwards.
Yeah, I understand it. I do. I think the trap a lot of people fall into, especially these, a lot of the national shows is you react to what happened this week, which again, that's part of the exercise as to what have you seen more recently. But I think people put far too much weight into that because I mean these other teams like Baltimore and Baltimore's hot. Yeah, no one's going to deny that, but they have certainly had losses probably as bad, if not worse, than the Patriots. So in the long run, I don't want to knock the Patriots or other teams like the 49ers too much because of a loss here and there, and we'll get into that. So needless to say. My number 3 team is the New England Patriots, and I agree with you. I think putting them any further on this higher on this list would be a little bit of homerism, but I think 3 is an appropriate ranking because at the end of the day they lost a game to the Baltimore Ravens, who I think a lot of people think is right now the best team in football, and their other loss came to a Houston Texans team and. At the end of the day, like there's issues on the offense, but to me, they're not unfixable. And I spent a lot of time the last few days and over the last week comparing this team to the 2013 version of the New England Patriots, who, of course, dealt with a lot of the same issues, but that version was completely gassed by the time it got to the playoffs in terms of they just didn't have anyone else to step up and make plays in the offense, especially the offensive line was hurt. Obviously, Gronkowski was out for the year. They were dealing with the. I I hate bringing him up because you know obviously for the things he did, but I mean they lost Aaron Hernandez unexpectedly that offseason, so all of a sudden that team right off the bat was trying to redefine what they planned on doing because we all know how integral Aaron Hernandez was in that offense before obviously he decided to go do the things that he did and get arrested and subsequently all that stuff. So but like I said, I think this team this team has the ability to fix it with the talent that they have, because I don't think this is a lack of talent issue. I think it's just they got to get better, and I am talking about most of the the skill position players, the rookies. I mean, Philip Dorsett, I think is kind of taken a little bit of a step back. I feel like as his volume of receptions have increased, so has his drops, because there was a point in time where he had caught 14 straight passes to him. So I think that's kind of regressed a little bit. But I'm rambling a little bit. At the end of the day, I think the Patriots are still the third best team right now in the league, and that has obviously the potential to grow. So number 3, the New England Patriots.
Yeah, and my number 3 is exactly the flip-flop, the mirror image. I went with the Seattle Seahawks in this situation. And look, they, the 37-30 win over the Vikings, that shifted the complexity of the NFC, if you think about it, and you have to give them their just due. Now, a lot of people are probably going to say, well, the Niners lost and the Seahawks won, so how could you rank the Seahawks less than the Niners? Well, there are a couple of reasons for that. First of all, I was very impressed with the way I was impressed with the way Seattle played, but I was very impressed with the way San Francisco played.
Yep.
And we'll get into that in a minute. But right now, they're in the driver's seat when it comes to the division. They've got a big Week 17 rematch against San Francisco looming. All of a sudden, that's going to be a huge game. I really like what Seattle has been able to do with getting Chris Carson, Rashad Penny. I think that combination is finally starting to grow into what Seattle had hoped it was going to be all along. So if that's going to make their offense even more potent, this could be an interesting conversation. But I still think on the defensive side of the ball, San Francisco is stronger, and that's why I ranked them a little bit higher than the Seattle Seahawks. But right now, they're my number 3 team in the NFL.
Yeah, and look, you're not going to get any complaints from me. I like the Seahawks quite a bit. I love Russell Wilson. I think he's just now kind of starting to get edged out, obviously, by Lamar Jackson for that MVP lead. But that doesn't take away anything, I think, about him or the team itself. And I think they're going to be a pretty formidable team moving forward. And look, that rematch with San Francisco is going to be something. That's going to be, sit your butt in the chair, appointment viewing, no matter what team you root for. So that'll be fun. So number 2 for me, San Francisco 49ers. Like you said, and I was kind of going to elaborate on this, like despite the loss, like you can't fault the 49ers for losing that game. That was a really good game that
Right.
At times they could have won. I mean, it went to overtime. They lost by 3 points. You're not, there's no such thing as I don't believe in good losses, but there are varying levels, varying degrees of losses, and this is certainly not one to hang your head about. So to me, the 49ers have continued to prove that their defense is very, very legit. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. They kind of have given you using the cliche, giving you a blueprint to kind of slow down that rushing attack of the Ravens. So, hats off to San Francisco, and they got another huge test this week, and they're almost through this gauntlet of a stretch for them.
Yeah, they're the 49ers are my second team ranked as well, and I think we're probably 1 and 2. I think we're like-minded when it comes to this. Look, they came very close, and I'm glad that you hit on that point about laying that groundwork. I hate using the term blueprint because I mean it's just, but and I we both have to use it, and I'm not knocking you for using it, but they did lay a little bit of the groundwork. I think what they did a lot was build on what we saw the New England Patriots try to do to the Baltimore Ravens in that game that they played back on November 3rd. I think the 49ers took it to another step, and I think now you're starting to see exactly how to slow down an offense like this. So that'll be interesting to see going forward. However, 49ers, they've been through the gauntlet lately. I mean, they've run through a great stretch here. This is definitely going to make sure that Kyle Shanahan's team is playoff tested by the time they get to the playoffs. And that was one thing that a lot of people were knocking on this ball club. A lot of people were, looking at their schedule and saying, no, they haven't played anybody. Where have we heard that before?
Yeah.
But in any case, I digress. But, this is going to be a huge game for them coming up against the Saints. Very difficult stretch, and this one's going to be a big test for San Francisco once again. But ultimately, I love what they've done on defense. I also like the fact that they're starting to round in a little bit on offense with Kittle getting healthy, with Emmanuel Sanders starting to get healthy a little bit. Their running game with Matt Breida has been very good. Jimmy Garoppolo's been, I think, growing a little bit each week. He's going to make some mistakes. He made them in the Ravens game. He's going to continue to make them. But he also proved that he can make plays when he has to as well. If that gives the 49ers a little bit of extra pop on offense, then that's why I have them ranked number 2 over the Seahawks and over the Saints right now. I think that defense still puts them over the top.
Yeah, and that's really, for me, the deciding factor. And to no one's surprise, the number 1 team in the league right now, or at least in my power ranking, is the Baltimore Ravens. Hottest team in the league, won 8, 9 in a row, something like that. Obviously, beating some good teams in the process. So you got to tip your cap to them and say, good for you. But for them, they have 2 divisional matchups and a game against a pretty good Buffalo team this weekend left in their 4 games. So it'll be interesting to see if they hold on, because it's certainly no sure thing. Because after this week for the Patriots, outside of that Buffalo game, and I do think I give the Patriots more of an edge against Buffalo than most teams, just because of the familiarity and the fact that they're playing them for a second time at home. But after this game against Kansas City this weekend, the Patriots have a fairly cakewalk of a schedule, I guess you can put it, for the last 3 games. You get, obviously, Miami, Buffalo, and the Bengals. So, the Patriots do still have an opportunity to take control of that number 1 seed. I do think it's just between these 2 teams right now, despite Houston playing well, despite Kansas City having their moments. I think the separation between the Ravens and the Patriots and the rest of the AFC is pretty good distance. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, and it'll be interesting December. So. You agree with me, Ravens, or are you going something out of the box?
Oh, no. Well, I was going to put the Bengals because of their big win this year. No,
that's right, the Red Rifle.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. The Red Rifle did it. He came up big. But no, of course, the Baltimore Ravens are the number 1 team ranked in terms of the power rankings right now. And look, Lamar Jackson's getting the lion's share of the credit. Quarterbacks always do, and he deserves it. He is the MVP. But a huge part of the Ravens' success this year really has to go to the leg of Justin Tucker. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about that enough. Yes, he's getting some press. He had the press conference the other day. He's an interesting personality. And, quite frankly, I think we need more of that in the NFL. But in any case, Tucker has been amazing. He really has been as automatic as it comes when it comes to being a kicker. Kicked in tough conditions. Gave the Ravens the win on Sunday. So they're clicking on all cylinders right now. And you have to wonder, at this point, it's going to be all about defensive coaching staffs being able to slow down the offense. If they can find ways to keep Lamar Jackson and that rushing attack out of the end zone, then teams will have a shot to beat Baltimore, because although they're playing a lot better on defense right now, they're not the 85 Bears. And you like how I segue
yes,
into what we're going to be talking about in a minute.
The Bears.
Stat Bears.
I like it.
Wait. Yep. But in any case, the Ravens definitely the number 1, the number 1. They're number 1 seed right now, but they're number 1 in the power rankings as well. And you can't deny what they've been able to do on both sides of the ball.
Number 1 dad. Oh, yeah? Oh man, you know what? That's another rabbit hole I don't want to get down. It's a Seinfeld reference. We could do that for the last 15 minutes, but we have Thursday Night Football to discuss. But yeah, I like I said, I figured we are going to be a little bit on point, and just true to our nature, I'm slightly a little bit more homer when it comes to when it comes to the Patriots, but I accept that. And you know what? When I bet the Patriots every single year to win the Super Bowl, I'm right fairly often, so I'll take it. probably more right than most people. So
I haven't picked against them in all my predictions that I do for Locked On and for Full Press this year. I haven't picked against them once this year. So maybe
it's
this
hard.
is a maybe this is a harbinger of things to come. Maybe I should start being more negative and they'll play better. So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. In any case, I will take one for the team if that is the case. I will. I'll put on the villain hat. I'll turn heel for the last couple of weeks of the season to help out my boys in Foxborough.
There you go. It'll be almost as famous as the Hulk Hogan heel turn. Mike Debate.
But what side is he on?
Oh,
man,
that's good stuff.
We won't even get into it. We could fill a whole show on how Heenan almost gave that away that time.
Well,
I love Bobby Heenan, but that was almost the tip of the cap.
Wait until we'll wait to do that until I get my catalog of wrestling music and sound bites.
Oh yeah,
because then we'll have a little bit of fun with it because the only thing I can really do at the moment is this. Finally.
There we go. That's all you need.
Yeah, and then the Undertaker gong. So limited in my soundbite catalog at the moment, but it's just a process of just going through the getting it all set up and all that. But you know what? It's good. It's good. So Thursday Night Football. We got 15 minutes left here, Mike. That's right. 45 minutes are down in the books. Behind us, we have talked quite a bit, but we still have football to talk about. And like you mentioned before, we have America's team. Yeah, okay. Hosting. Oh, I'm sorry. Traveling to Soldier Field to take on. Yes, that's right. The Bears. Yes. Look, it's a battle of 6-6 teams. I mean, this is, to me, the epitome of you are what your record says you are. You're a mediocre team, and I think both of these teams are fantastically mediocre. I do give, quick right off the bat, I do give the talent edge, the on paper edge to the Cowboys because when you look at it, you got Dak Prescott, who I think is one of the better quarterbacks in this league. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott. You still have a pretty good offensive line. Amari Cooper, Randall Cobb. I mean, they have weapons. They have play. I mean, hell. Imagine if Tom Brady had this offensive line, the entire season and not have to deal with the injury. So,
wouldn't matter. He's washed up.
That's right. That's right. Never mind. Never mind.
Nope. Sending him off to I don't know. He's going to play in Fiji next year or something like that.
He's already got his room set at Shady Acres. He's there. Get it, Tom Shady, Shady Acres. Right. Yeah, Shady Acres. Yep. He's got his room set. He's there after this year, nursing home, all that stuff. So
yeah, he's going to be starting quarterback. Ray Finkel's going to be kicking. It's going to be great over there. Yeah,
that's right.
They're going to really enjoy it. Just remember, hold the laces out, folks.
That's right. That's right. And I'm sure Tom Brady is going to have a room plastered with Eli die knitted hand towels because we all know the rivalry that's there. Haha. Yep. But no, seriously, the Cowboys, look, they have a lot of talent. The Bears too. I think obviously the biggest difference is the play at quarterback. I think Dak Prescott is a much better quarterback than Mitch Trubisky. But look, both these teams are. I mean, Chicago is really kind of more so out of it because the Dallas Cowboys, despite being 6-6, lead their division. So, what are your initial impressions on this game? Are you leaning towards any right out of the gate without getting too specific? Or is your gut telling you anything besides you probably shouldn't eat that Polish sausage last night?
Well, we'll get to the Polish sausage in just a minute because, as my good friend Bill Swirsky here is going to say, we'll talk about the Bears in just a moment. But in any case, top Bears.
Top Bears.
But in any case, no, I'm very much like-minded when it comes to you in this game. I think on paper, you have to give the talent edge to the Cowboys. There are a ton of weapons on offense, and that's still an offense that's ready to break out. They are facing a Bears defense, though, that does have playmakers in Khalil Mack, guys that can get after the quarterback, guys that can make plays happen. Their problems have been really mostly on offense this year, and I think it's demoralized the defense to areas where they've given up probably more points than they should have.
They're both 28th in both rushing and passing offense, the Bears. But on the flip side, top 10 in defense on both those. So obviously 9th, and this is obviously yards per game, not points per game, because that's not how we do things. That's not how defenses are measured. But pass yards a game, they're 9th in the league, and rush yards a game, they're 7th. So we know their strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. We do know their strengths. And, ultimately, I think the Cowboys right now are an anomaly to me because the talent is there for them to be a top flight team in the NFC. Now, I'm not saying that they'd be in our power rankings of the top five, but when you take a look at the conference, maybe not the NFL, but you take a look at the conference, they should be, without a doubt, a top five team in this conference. And just the level of consistency with which they played is sometimes up and sometimes down. And you have to wonder if that's due to coaching. I don't really wonder. I think it is due to coaching, but we'll see what happens. This is going to be a very, very make or break game for the Dallas Cowboys. This either saves their season or they could implode big time. And if the Philadelphia Eagles are able to rattle off a win against the New York Giants this weekend, the NFC East could once again get interesting, folks. It's amazing to think with the Eagles, the way they played the last few games, that they would be still in contention for a playoff spot, but they are.
I'd pump your brakes because I believe in the magic of Eli Manning, and I give the Philadelphia's exactly
0.0%
chance to
Mr.
beat them.
Blues
That's right. No, I like I said, I give the Eagles no chance. But sorry, I just had to jump in. With
Carson Wentz has no grade point average, all incomplete. So in any case, but we'll get back to that in a minute, I guess. But the Cowboys, this is a big game for the Cowboys, and a lot of people look at this and say, well, the Bears aren't exactly a juggernaut. They're kind of still treading water in the playoff, race, I guess, if you could say that. I think they have to win throughout to be in there. But technically, they're still alive. They're in the. If you look at the NFL board, they're listed as in the hunt. So they're still playing for something in Chicago. I wonder about the motivation of Dallas. I think Chicago needs to put together a game. This may be it. I don't know. I'm smelling a little bit of an upset here. So I don't know.
Ooh,
maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me wanting to do the voice. And Bill Swirsky is trying to speak to me through the spirit of him and trying to say that if they can get a certain Coach Ditka out of retirement and maybe even throw a helmet on the guy, have him take some snaps under center, and not even worry about throwing the ball. Just run the gauntlet directly into Frozen Soldier Field on Sunday. If that happens, Bears by 75.
The Bears. The funny thing is, and since we're obviously talking about this, and I think about the skit fairly often throughout the football season, because it's a classic, and it was from a time, from a place, from an era when Saturday Night Live was actually good. But the closest thing we have to this type of actual mentality in real life is it's Nick Wright and the Chiefs. Who would you take? Would you take the Patriots' second-ranked defense with all those players, or Patrick Mahomes? Oh, I'll take Patrick Mahomes every day.
Exactly. Mahomes can just take on this whole defense by himself.
Is Mahomes driving the bus? Okay, well, Mahomes. No, I had to get that. It was just a thought that came across my mind. But we're not talking about that, so I apologize. We're talking about and the Cowboys. That's right. Thank you, Bill. So, look, you're right. The Bears are still technically in this, but they need a lot of help. I mean, this isn't the again. They're not competing with another team that's 6-6 for a wild card spot. They're competing with basically teams that have a win or two above them. So they're going to need some help. I mean, they're 3 games shy behind Green Bay right now in the division. So assuming Green Bay and Minnesota don't just implode over the next 4 weeks, they're not going to win the division. Again, the wild card is that's going to be a tough one because again, the only team that has 6 wins that's in the playoffs right now is the Dallas Cowboys, and that's by virtue of the fact that they're leading their division. So it kind of speaks to what the NFC East is right now. But look, for Dallas, they just got to do what they do well. I mean, they got to run the ball well. Ezekiel Elliott just hasn't been the same consistent threat that he has been the last few years. Dak Prescott has played well. He leads the league in passing, 3,788 yards, 23 touchdowns. He's having a really fine season. Amari Cooper is just shy of 1,000 yards receiving. He should get that tonight. I think he only needs 29 yards. So, they have good talent on this team. They have a pretty decent defense. Yes, missing Leighton Vander Esch hurts. I mean, he's a big piece of that linebacking group for them, but for the most part, I mean, you got to be able to win these games that I feel like they've just given away so many games to bad teams. Like, I mean, they played well against bad to good teams, but they haven't beaten the really good teams, and that's concerning when you're looking for a team to make a dark horse run in the playoffs. So to me, Ezekiel Elliott has to be the guy today, though, because they got to be able to control the clock. They got to be able to make this defense tired, because if they're able to, if the Bears defense, the Bears are able to key in on Dak late in the game and really start to amp up the pressure, the Cowboys aren't going to have a chance. You got to get them tired. You got to get them gassed by the third or fourth quarter and really control this game. So Ezekiel Elliott, to me, really has to step up and have a big one.
Yeah, and if he does, then that definitely tips the scales in the favor of the Dallas Cowboys, because he is a difference maker.
And that's the Bears' strength too. If they can attack the Bears' strength and make that an advantage for the Cowboys, then you're going to win this game. So to me, you have to hammer home and get yards on the ground, because at the end of the day, if you're going to talk about a top rushing defense and what a lot of people consider one of the best running backs in the game, you got to make some moves. You got to be effective and really impose your will, as they say.
Yes, but you're forgetting the fact that the Bears have no weaknesses.
That's right. The Bears have no weaknesses. Well, except maybe the quarterback.
Questionable Polish sausage
Yes.
that was sold at Soldier Field on Sunday afternoon. But we're talking about a weekend here that's 1 week removed from Thanksgiving. No turkey, all Polish sausage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I would agree with that, Bob. I prefer Polish sausage over the disgusting bird that is turkey. But hey, that was Thanksgiving. That was a week ago. I'm over my rant. Unless you want to bring it up, and feel free to talk to me about your preferences about turkey, because I hate it. At IGLEN31 on Twitter. Go ahead, feel free to message me. I will gladly engage you in that conversation. But right now, we're having a conversation about how the Cowboys, I think, may win this game. Again, you got to key in on Ezekiel Elliott. You got to be able to run that offense and be efficient on offense. You can't be turning the ball over. You can't be going 3 and out against this team. You can't be giving a limited offense like the Bears more opportunities to steal this game, because, look, the Cowboys are a good team, but they're not good enough to overcome mistakes. They start making mistakes, they're going to lose this game, and they're going to lose a lot of games. Like, there's certain teams, the Patriots can get away with making mistakes against bad teams, because ultimately they're going to come back. Same with a lot of these other really good teams. The Cowboys, in my opinion, can't. They start making mistakes, I don't care who you're playing, you're going to lose this game. Look what happened against the Jets. The same team that just lost to Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, and the winless Cincinnati Bengals. So, to me, it's
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And look, the pressure's on the Cowboys because they've lost 2 in a row, and albeit they've lost to New England and Buffalo, 2 really good teams in the AFC. But out of the last 5 games, they're 2-3. They're 2 wins against Detroit, against the New York Giants, 3 losses: Minnesota, New England, and Buffalo. All those games, or 2 of those games, they've failed to muster up any sort of offense, scoring 9 points, obviously, against the Patriots and only 15 against Buffalo, and really looking just out of sorts for a majority of the game. Now, granted, they were able to put up 24 against Minnesota, but still, you're talking about 3 losses in the last 5 games to 3 playoff teams. I mean, these are the teams that Dallas is going to have to win if they want to make a Super Bowl run anyway. So it's definitely concerning, and maybe the pressure gets to you, and maybe the pressure is enough to get them over the hump and motivate them to actually win a game against I guess a 500 team. So we'll see. So I got who's your X factor in this game for the Cowboys and then for the Bears? Mike? No, Mike.
Michael?
All right, I think we might have lost Mike here. It's okay. It's all right. We'll get him back on the line. It's that wonderful internet up there in Rhode Island. Actually, since we only have 90 seconds left, I am not going to get him back on. So we'll just wrap it up here. So I'm going to give my prediction for the game. I will hopefully Mike will shoot it out on Twitter, and we'll tweet it from the @FPC Radio Live account so everyone can see it. But I have the Dallas Cowboys winning this game 24-16. I do think that they get the offense rolling to the point where they're able to at least be effective enough to counter what Chicago can bring. And what Chicago could bring is really not that much on offense. So I do think the Cowboys get the win. It won't sway me any way whatsoever in terms of, do I believe in them more in the playoffs? I still don't. I really, at this point, they have to actually do it before I can say I can believe in them. So you got a couple months before you can prove it to me there, Dallas. But they will win tonight. I think they do play a pretty good game. And look, there's something to be said about having your backs up against the wall, and I think that's what the Cowboys are. So with that said, I do want to say thank you everyone out there that was watching. Again, give us a follow at FPC Radio Live on Twitter for all show updates. We do post our shows as podcasts, so if you miss it or if you tune in late or if you just want to catch it later in the afternoon, check out on Apple Podcasts, Google, all those great places, FPC Radio Live, and see all of our old episodes. So for myself, I'm Ian Glendon. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at IGLEN31. For Mike, he left us a little bit early, but it's okay. Follow him on Twitter. It's at MDABATEFPC. Have a great day, folks, and we will see you tomorrow.